Now, following allegations that David Mphelo engaged in irregularities and employment and procurement while serving as acting CEO at the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, has suspended Mphelo. To discuss this further, we are joined by activist Zackie Achmat. Jack, thank you very much for joining us at ENCA. But quickly, maybe give us an indication, clear instabilities at PRASA, another CEO suspended. What does this tell us about what's really going on at PRASA?
All I can say is this. Over the last 10 years, there have been at least 10 acting CEOs. At least 10 acting CEOs. There's also been, since we started working in the last 5 years, there have been 4 ministers and 7 CEOs, 5 of whom have served under Minister Mbalula. The greatest difficulty at PRASA is not that the rails aren't running, because that can be fixed. It's not that the destruction of our rail requires executive management that can do their job. It is above all the fact that the governance structure of PRASA, the board, and I've in the last 5 years, I've been through about 4 or 5 accounting authorities. You've had the you've had the Makubele board, Justice Makubele, who now has a complaint of the Judicial Services Commission against her, and she'll be facing a tribunal on the 20th of February next year. You then had the Kweyama board, whose Scopa promised that they're going to have them declared delinquent directors, and she just simply cancelled the security contracts without anything in place, and the further destruction then happened. Then Mbalula appointed his mate David Mphelo as the administrator of PRASA. What you then had after that is Treasury having to appoint someone. Then you had the Leonard Ramatlakane board. The Ramatlakane board has been an absolute disaster because Mr. Ramatlakane himself is complicit in allowing corrupt people to benefit. Now, how do you, in such a situation, have executive managers who don't have the competency, they don't have the professionalism, they don't have the skill, and many of them haven't had any qualification in relation to rail? So the disaster is first and foremost the failure of oversight by Cabinet and the President, the Minister, Parliament, and the governance body of PRASA. So what we would like to see first and foremost is a dissolution of the Ramatlakane board and the appointment of a professional ethical board as required by the Constitution.
That's a whole myriad of issues that you mentioned. And sorry to interject there, but you mentioned 10 CEOs over the last number of years, whole myriad of issues that you're painting out there. Why can't the minister and the board get it right?
Well, let's be clear about this. PRASA has at least 28 billion rand of irregular expenditure, a large amount of it absolute corruption and state capture under Sifiso Buthelezi and Lucky Montana. And you can see that in the Zondo Commission, but much more seriously in court cases that have come to our high courts, the Supreme Court of Appeal, in at least 2 serious cases, Swifambo and Siangena. You've also had the former engineer declared by Lucky Montana as the greatest engineer Africa had produced, who had hoodwinked everyone and had a matric and not the PhD. He's just been found guilty of fraud in Johannesburg. This more serious thing is the National Prosecution Authority has done absolutely nothing to protect the assets that the courts, especially the Supreme Court of Appeal, has found the contracts are found to be corrupt, and the money has to be paid back to PRASA.
And we're seeing the impact almost on a daily basis on the railways, but maybe detail just how bad it is. What are we seeing play out because of the result of all of this malfunction at PRASA?
Let's start off by saying having access to commuter rail services is necessary to have the fundamental rights to education, to worship, to a range of aspects of our daily lives. And that means specifically trains that are safe, that are reliable, that are affordable. At the moment, in Cape Town, about 30% of the rail is working. About 30% of the rail is working. In Gauteng, it's less than 90%, it's less than 10%. And those trains you're seeing on your screen at the moment, they're the new trains, but they're all boarded and locked up because they don't fit our lines. Now, how do you order new trains and they cannot be used because our lines aren't ready for them? There are one or two lines that are corridors that are ready for them across the country. You also have a situation where PRASA has lost 90% of its customers. In addition to that, it has a situation where there are less than 100 trains operating on the national railway line. In 1994, there were 100 train sets in Cape Town alone. A couple of years ago, there were 80 train sets and 68 train sets, and then it went down to 34. Now you imagine less than 100 trains are operating in the whole country. That means that our train drivers are working from home.
Less than 100 trains operating in the country, 28 billion rand spent irregularly. Who should take a fall? Just a quick one. Is it PRASA, the minister, the board? Who should take the fall?
All of them. Minister Mbalula should do the decent thing and resign. I mean, he's got a new job coming. On top of it, Leonard Ramatlakane should do the same. But I have no hope in them doing this, and that's why Unite Behind is in the courts to address this question. I believe that Gauteng government and the city of Cape Town need to take control of PRASA in their areas in order to make it sure. That is our policy at Unite Behind.